Hello, good afternoon and welcome back to the Fishwater house in California. Now, I'm at a mark near Laguna Beach and I'm going to be meeting up with a friend of mine, Ben, from AmericanSeaFishing.com. Get all my gear out of the van and make our way down to the shore. We're going to go and do some beach fishing. Let's go. I've had worse walks to the beach. It's a rare spot, isn't it? A lovely mark. One of the things that I cover a lot in my videos and I share with folks is just, it's everything to do with it. Like this has caught my eye, this plant here. Now this one here, that plant there, that succulent, we get those on the Lizard in Cornwall. Now I'm literally on the other side of the world. We get that exact same plant on the coastline of Cornwall. It's got a few names. It's called a Hottentot fig or a pig face, and I think the Californians call it an ice plant. Partly the reason being because it grows on the sides of roads, and if your car ever comes off the road and goes onto it, it's as slick as ice. We are here. I was just saying there, I said I've had some terrible walks to marks before. I think this one's not so bad. It's a lovely spot. It's beautiful. We're fishing on a beach tonight. You were saying that we've got a flooding tide.
Yeah.
What we're going to be fishing for?
Mainly rays, so big bat rays, maybe some big tope, big soupfin as well. Catch the occasional leopard shark here, but mostly it's all about the big bat rays here. And the big tope, they love this little reef just offshore. It's a big kelp system as well, so they love swimming around that in the daytime. And they come up the beach to feed, but they need a bit of the tidal movement. So we've got a nice big high tide. I think it's about 10 o'clock tonight. So we're going to fish up until then and see what it's about really.
I'm assuming with the surf being quite close in, that it'll slope off a bit and then it'll flatten off.
Yeah. There's a definite drop off on this beach, and you really notice it. If you you don't need to cast very far, just off the end of the drop off, and you'll notice the rays and the sharks controlling that little drop off there. I've already got a barred surf patch just down here, second cast. There's a load of sand crabs in there, so we've got the bait present. Yeah. We've got the bait for the bait that's present. So that's kind of a couple of boxes ticked for me.
Well, this is something that we've covered in loads of them. There needs to be the whole food chain there, but you won't have the big fish unless you've got the little fish.
In fact, John, do you want to come down and check out the bed of sand crabs that I just found? So honestly, there's a huge bed. There's like room-sized beds down there. They're massive ones as well. Like they're big daddies.
I've explained to some folks before that just because you think it's a nice beach for people doesn't mean it's necessarily a decent beach for fishing, because you need to have everything from the food chain, being the little things all the way up to the bigger predators, because if you haven't got the bait fish, it's nothing for the bigger fish to eat. Oh, that's one of the turned out shells of one of your larger ones, isn't it, that you were telling me the other day?
Yeah, so we'll probably find a bigger one than that. You can see quite a few on the shore. So if you look down there, when this wave pulls back, you're going to see all these little black kind of indentations in the sand.
So what we're looking at, I've just, it's going to seem, I'm asking a question that you've already explained to me, but you haven't explained to everyone else. When the tide's drawing back off, what is it you're looking for in here? Is it these ripples that you can see, like little divots?
Well, actually, if you put your camera just over there, it's a really good spot. So you're going to watch this as this wave comes over. Yeah. You can see them back now, just those little black dots in there where that sun's reflecting.
I'm not sure how well the camera's going to show, but it will be. You'll see like a glassy reflective bit where the sun's bouncing off, and there'll be like little tiny dips.
Just as this wave pulls back, we're going to see a lot of. You're going to see a difference between where the flat sand is, where there's no sand crabs.
I'm going to get wet, it's inevitable.
We're going to see a lot of this wave is not going to do us much, but you can see them in the shore right there, look. Yeah. See all the little lumps.
I can see exactly what you mean.
So in a minute, right, so then when this next wave comes over,
I'm going to dip off and I'm going to roll my trousers up. Yeah. I'm going to roll my trousers up. Just explain to us real quick, what exactly are they? They're like little crabs, aren't they?
Yeah, they're little crabs, they're little tiny crabs called sand fleas, sand crabs, and what they do, they're sort of shaped a bit like a grape. Most of them are kind of thumbnail size, and they live in the sand in the shore break, and they feed on bits of plankton in the water, little animals in the water. So their deal is they're sitting in the sand, and when that water comes over, so when that wave pings the water over, they stick their little feelers out the sand, which is when you see those little black marks, and they filter feed through the bits and pieces out the water, and when that water goes, they disappear back into the sand and hide again. They're really spooky. They've obviously got loads of predators. They're right at the bottom of the food chain. Everything eats them, so they're terrified of everything. So they're pretty spooky, but I reckon we should go and find a few in the shore break. I reckon there's some big ones down there. And you might be able to see there in those little black marks in the shore break.
I can see them just here. I'm not sure the camera's going to show.
There's a couple.
Oh yeah, there's one. Oh, I tell you what, he's a big one.
He's a big boy, isn't he? Little girls carrying eggs. Quite often they're at that size, yeah, carrying eggs. So if you get a little.
I'll tell you what, just give me 2 seconds. I'll just run it off here.
Yeah.
There you go. Oh, I could see him, yeah.
See the little orange eggs.
I tell you what, they're fast, aren't they?
Yeah. So we pull
just exactly like a crab would carry eggs underneath the vents, yeah.
So we'll put her back, but watch how fast they dig in the sand. So put a bit in the wet sand, see how fast she digs.
What they look like? They look like a water boatman.
Yeah, or like one of those little bugs that you see on fish's tongues sometimes, little parasite, don't they?
Yeah, that just looks like a water boatman that you'd get in a pond.
Yeah, but on steroids, isn't it?
Yeah. So what, you just drop it on the sand when a wave drops off?
You'll see how fast it's going to dig. And how they dig is they vibrate that little tail section so fast it turns the sand to mush, and then they sink into it. So another couple here.
Oh, aye, they're rapid, aren't they?
Wait, so there you go. Got it.
But yeah, these are filter feeders. These are feeding on plankton, so these are right at the bottom of the food chain. So your things like your bass and your sand perch, they're in here raking about feeding on them. Brilliant.
Yeah.
There's a few other little bits and pieces on the beach like this. This was, I don't know if I can find a better one. But this is the kelp that they have up here. And these are little tiny goose barnacles. We very occasionally get goose barnacles in the UK, but it's only ever on like a piece of flotsam that's been right out in the middle of the Atlantic that ends up finding its way onto our shores. For anybody that would be curious, usually wear a life jacket. I am still wearing one. I'm wearing I had nothing but kelp in that surf there. So, sun's just dying off, we're going to get the big rods out. I'm going to be using, it's just a Penn Spinfisher 7,500 on my Any Fish Anywhere 6 and bait. The rigs that we're using today are your made up rigs, aren't they?
Yeah, just a basic pulley rig. So, American Sea Fishing pulley rig, Surf Shark pulley rig with a 10-0 Coxon Rule Mutsu circle as the bottom hook. The top hook is a 10-0 Ultra Chinu hook that's really mainly for the big rays. We tend to find those really hook up a lot better on those big J hooks. And that's 170 £170 wire, a couple of 400 £400 swivels, 200 £200 rig body, and a little release clip at the bottom.
So heavy.
Really heavy GT.
Well, I suppose you have no idea, it could be a monster.
Yeah, we've hooked some big stuff off it, definitely. If I use anything less, I've been seen off a few times on less stuff. And there's definitely the ability to stop a fish getting into the reef that I reckon it's about 100 yards that way is quite a factor in landing the bigger fish off this beach. So.
You've just rigged your rig up there. Can you just show us real quick what you've... This is what it looks like when you're rigged up. So you've got, what's that, 2 feet of, probably 2.5 foot of wire.
Yeah, it's about that. So we've got an 8-ounce sinker there, so pretty basic surf sinker. We've got our pulley rig, release clip up there.
I see what you've done again, isn't it?
Yeah.
The same with you leave a longer tag end so you can anchor it into your bait.
Really important, especially those the sharky things that want to put their mouth around it a few times. This is actually a slight variation on the pulley rigs. This is really the one we try and catch you a really big ray tonight. So we've got a couple of the bigger J hooks on there. Yeah. So I find that really trips up the really big bat rays. Slightly longer rig as well. So exactly the same, just another pulley rig. And that's attached to a 80 £80 casting leader, 60 £60 braid, 13-foot spinning rods, and that's a.
You're using what are these? These are 8,500s, aren't they?
Yeah, 8,500 Spinfisher. Sorry, not Spinfisher. Sammer. It's high speed. Yeah. So pretty useful catching up on those fast-moving tables.
It's a very similar setup to the one that I'm using now.
It's funny, isn't it? We both come to the same thing. We're 5,000 miles away. We come to the same kind of setups to catch the same very different fish. So yeah, right, let's get to that.
We'll get some baits knocked up and then we'll show you that. There we are. That's how I've rigged mine, and yeah.
There you go. Pretty similar.
I was about to say you've got a golden grey mullet.
Giant smell.
That's come on, calm yourself down. I tell you what, that golden bar on there, it is It is exactly like a golden grey mullet, isn't it? Is it worth keeping?
No.
Not even using for bait, I mean for spit now. So just good fun for catching then. Yeah. Surf smelt apparently. I'm assuming that you're just trying to put it the back of the breakers.
It's not that tight.
Yeah.
Got a couple of sets coming.
I was going to say I either show your bad casting or I show mine.
I'm sure yours is a lot better.
I don't know about that. I've never had to learn to cast a long way. Most of the rock fishing I do is inside of 80 yards anyway. You see how he's picked his time right. So now there's next to no breakers out there, so we can wade out that little bit further. I'll grab one of this and I'll take this over the high tide line so we're not dealing with that later on. You can see all the little goose barnacles on it. Yeah, if I don't pick this up now, all that's going to happen is it's going to keep rolling around its surf out where our lines are, and we're going to dragging it in. Just locked over, didn't it? And the rod tip just went.
Yeah, like a massive rain.
Yeah.
Not a big one.
That bait hadn't been out more than about 10 minutes. The time it took me to cast my rod out.
About to go, it's gonna go.
For anyone who can't see, it's yeah, you really need to knock these posts into the ground and set your drag right. When you get it up into surf,
yeah.
how am I best doing when it's just going down and getting hold of the leader and walking it in?
Yeah, well, I'll do you a swap if you want to film a leader. There's a technique I'll do.
For the first one, I'll tell you what we'll do. When you get to a point where you're happy to go and get it, hand me the rod, I'll hold it, and I'll film you going down and getting it.
Help, mate. If you've got this couple of gloves, actually not that one. I've got the gloves in my left pocket. I'm wearing gloves.
Yeah. You want me to put my hand? This isn't your pocket with the hole in, is it?
Special pocket. No, I think we'll be alright.
You see how he's walking backwards and forwards, because if he just stayed there, as the water's running out and the fish is running, you're putting too much pressure on, he'll either snap the line or you'll break it off. Picking the right swell to bring it in on. That tail is wick, isn't it?
California bat ray.
That tail is just like a whip.
Yeah. So we'll get my pliers.
I don't even know if he's got a spike or is he?
He has, yeah, I can see it.
I think
Someone's
possibly snapped it. Oh well, he might have snapped it off in a shark, or he might.
It's not like that.
But they have got a very unusual face, haven't they? Yeah, it doesn't matter where you try and get hold of them. That tail's got.
Come and hold the tail, please, mate.
You got it, mate?
Yeah.
Good. Right on the circle there.
Yep. Nicely hooked.
Yeah, I was just going to say, bait's come straight out.
Beautiful. So I take a wingspan measurement. That's not comparatively not that big, but fun fight though.
We'll do quite dense. I mean, it's good. It's a good 6 inches thick.
You don't pick that up. I mean, that's kind of.
I was going to ask you how much your weight it is.
I don't know. You know, 20, 30 pound or something, but.
Well, over 20 pound easy by the size of it, because that's the size of it.
Right, should we put it back?
Go on, mate.
Okay, trick is to these ones, you've got to skim them across the water and wait till the water's going out. So it's a good opportunity, this water's going to start going out.
So waiting for the water to go out, so the water carries it out. I've got you.
See that wimpy little tail? So
yeah.
last thing you'll see is that little tail. Whew. Right.
Well, just like that. Yeah. Well done.
Right, your turn next, mate.
Just double check mine. Yeah, if that drag's not set right, when that ray picked up, when that ray picked that up, then We were literally up at the bags, just turned round, had one bite and just arched straight over and was... So if your drag was too tight here, that rod would have just disappeared. Any look? Just as the sun's gone in. So it's that witching hour, isn't it? It's that final hour. I think we've got about another 2.5 to 3 hours of the flood. So the fishing's going to start picking up from now. I think I've probably got a piece of kelp wrapped onto my line. I'm going to rig me with the rod up and have a look at this. We've just seen, I've just turned the camera off and started running back to see you two, and you were like, John, behind you, behind you. Turned back. Turned back and I thought, it doesn't slack line, mate, I'll just tighten up to it. And tighten up to it and tighten up to it, and by the time you'd come over I was like, now there's a fish on here. You can feel like the dun 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 and the wing beat. How big did you get those back race?
I think the record is about £197.
I tell you what, with the fight you got off that one there.
Yeah, you know about it. I think this is maybe a little bit bigger.
I'm just making it look hard work, that's all I'm doing. I wasn't sure about being bigger. That's the thing with these rays like this, is you can... Oh, I can see where he is now, it's coming in, that surface. They can be sat flat to bottom, and they might only be in 2 foot of water and they're still sticking onto the seabed. The harder they are to get out,
Better one?
yeah, that is a better one.
You can hear it's a better one.
That's a big goal.
I thought I was just making hard work of it.
No, that's a big goal. It's got to be 50 inches maybe, close.
Yeah. Yeah, what's this one? I've got hold of the tail.
You just lift up, don't put your finger in the mouth.
That?
Yeah, there, that's big.
You got a tail?
Yeah, I've got the tail, mate. Right. Just show us the rig a sec, mate, real quick.
Look it up.
Sorry, I've got it, it's not going nowhere. So it was the top hook, it was the chino that took that?
Yeah, right in there.
Perfect. Yeah, that is it's a fair size one.
Well, I'll just take that.
Wait until the wave's going out, takes it with it. There we are. Excellent, mate, thank you very much.
Mate, that was a good one. That was a really nice one.
I wouldn't, I don't know even how heavy that would be.
Oh.
That was fantastic. It was, like I say, I'd just been down to see the rod, turned the camera off, started walking back, and the lads were going, behind you, turned round and it just twanged up. I just saw it obviously bent over and then sprung back. I ran over to it and I thought there's a little bit of a slack line bite, so I started winding it in and it just never tightened up. And by the time they'd caught to me, I was like, hey, roll the camera. As soon as I caught up to it and it felt the hook, it was away. But yeah, that was a cracking bat ray. Now I've caught those in the Canaries. I've caught them quite a few places. Now I'd know them as like a cow nose ray or a cow face ray. Oh yeah, there we go. I've rigged up another bait. Get it fired out. Now I'm not sure I'm going to set all this up. If we're going to be fishing like that, I'm not going to be able to fish 2 rods. We're only going to be able to fish 1 rod each. Because there's every good chance here that we might end up sat in a situation where we've got a double hookup. Because that fish took me about 10 or 12 minutes to get through the surf. That weight of fish, just if I'd have tried to pull too hard one way when it was swimming the other way and the water was pulling the other way, it would have parted off. So it's just about like give and take and picking your wave set and bringing it in. Excellent. Get them baits out. Yeah, that's all it is. And I've got, I think it's £67 braid. It's going to seem like quite a daft thing to say. I think it is like £67 braid because I think it's in kilos. So it's usually on my rough ground, my heavier shore rods, I'll use £60 or £70 braid. And I've got an £80 leader on there. And ending it in a strong coast lock swivel straight to my pulley rig. Having that stronger leader there, not only when I'm fishing rough ground to give you abrasion resistance, but when he was leadering that fish in there, he could get hold of the £80 mono rather than the braid. Yeah, all it did, that last one just went twang and then the line fell slack. Now that bait there has been well and truly chewed out. Is this going to be, do you get many crabs in the sand?
Yeah, there'll be a few crabs and stuff around there. I reckon that's a combination of maybe a few rays on those little thornback skate.
Oh, like the ones that we had the other day that were like that big?
Yeah, they've got this kind of powerful, quite kind of crushing mouth, and you can see where it's just been sort of teased out there, like crushed away, but equally, don't you think that looks like a shark's picked it up? But like I said, there's all sorts of critters down there, so especially this time of night when that tide coming up.
What wouldn't want to eat that? Yeah, slack liner. We were just kind of saying, oh, because it's been hard. Oh no. It's gone.
Oh no, unlucky mate. That looked like a ray possibly?
Yeah, it was.
Smaller back ray?
We were just saying that the night's getting hard, the swell's picking up. I mean, you can see by how much weed's on my rod tip now, look. It's just, the conditions are really testing. So we're like, oh, we'll give it 10 minutes. Yeah. Rushed that.
Made a mess of that. One more cast?
Yeah, definitely. Unfortunately, what happened there was we put a bigger bait out for a taupe, and a smaller ray's picked it up. Which, yeah, that's been well and truly mashed up. I reckon we're going to get about another 15 minutes before we're going to have to pack up just because the conditions are getting too extreme. No, you're alright, thanks. You can keep your black widows. I'll stick to my daddy long legs back at home that are absolutely harmless. The conditions have just got that bad now. The swell's picked right up and it's brought a lot of weed with it. We just can't keep a bait out there because the weed keeps getting on the line and it's tripping the lads out. So what we've done is we've packed everything away. We've had a scour around to make sure that we haven't left anything. Now, what was quite interesting is right at the end there, we'd had the 2 rays early on, just as the light was dying, and then the bites had died off. We had one, I'm assuming was a small ray, picked it up and it dropped the bait. We put bigger baits out trying to hope to catch a top. As we were stood there watching the rods, we found there was some fish out and around our feet, and now to me they just looked like the fish that we catch. They just looked any type of fish. They're like a little mullet. But Ben was saying there that it's called a Grunion, and there's a Grunion run. Now you were saying there that it's only specific tides. I mean, we're fishing on a big spring.
Yeah.
We're not fishing on a spring for any particular reason other than the fact that I'm only here for a week and it just so happened to be that the conditions were okay to fish and it's a large tide. But these Grunion, you're saying it's part of their breeding cycle?
Yeah, so Grunion is a type of smelt, quite a small smelt. If you use smelt for pike fishing in England, it's pretty similar kind of size and shape and thing, pretty closely related as well. And their deal is how they reproduce is every 2 weeks. So when there's a big tide, which coincides with one of the moon cycles, they'll swim up the beach and coincide there, swim up the beach with exactly the same time as the high tide, and they'll lay their eggs in a tiny little hole right at the top of the high tide line. The male will jump in and fertilise the eggs, and then as the water retreats, obviously the Grunion retreat, and then the next time the water comes up to the same spot 2 weeks later on the same tide cycle, and then the moon kicks in again, and the water comes over, turns over that bit of sand with the Grunion eggs in there. Grunion eggs immediately hatch, swim out to sea, do their thing, come back into the same spot and restart the cycle. So they're really interesting. Probably I've only seen 8, 9, 10 Grunion runs in my time in California in 5 years.
So you're saying that these fish know when we're fishing it's a spring tide. It's just coincidence that we're fishing today on a spring tide because I'm only here for a small period of time. Now they know when it's going to be a high spring tide because they want to get to the highest point on the tide line.
Absolutely.
Because if it was halfway down the tide, the next bigger tide would wash all their eggs out.
Yeah, the next day they'd just be washing their eggs out.
So they're all held up somewhere out at sea, waiting until the high tide point, and they're all going to run up, lay their eggs, fertilise them, and then dash back out again. Yeah. So that, in my mind, in my fishing mind, I'm thinking there's going to be a lot of them out there. So there's going to be a lot of bait out there. So that would affect the fishing anyway.
I think so. Well, we had a kind of how it worked out today is we had 2 fish very quickly, didn't we, starting just as that light went, which I would say were not associated with the Grunion run, no Grunions at all. And then as the night went on,
we were getting to the higher tide line, where so all these fish will be congregating just outside the swell, ready to run up.
It was noticeably slower, wasn't it? We didn't have any bites at all, no interest. And then as those Grunions came up with a couple of funny little bites, pretty like little back rays, little sharky ray type things swimming around. Do you notice that there's a real dead period when the fish, I guess, are stacking up in anticipation of the Grunions.
We have it with pollock on the reefs back home. If you get too much feed, you can't pin them down, can you? Because there's just that much options for them.
And the big bat rays love the Grunions. Because imagine those Grunions are pretty spent by the time they've done all that thing, and they're pretty tired. And the Grunions can just go, the bat rays can just go around and hoover them up, using that big kind of mouth, and just like hoover them up, and off they go. So
we'll go down and we'll see if we can't find a few for you now. Oh, there they are.
Got really great colours as well. They've got this kind of electric blue down the middle.
But and they're everywhere.
Yeah, really pretty.
Like there goes one. I don't know if you can see them all here. Look. There's one. There's one. There's one. If I said there was 40, it'd be an underestimate. Look here. There's one. There's one. They've waited for this point in the tide to come up here because this is as high as the tide's going to come. So yeah, I imagine this when all these fish have come up here and they've all bred and they're all spent, I imagine it's just feast time for the fish out of there. So as soon as the tide turns and they start washing back out again, they'll just have all the rays and all the taupe scooping them all up. Well, there you go, a Grunion run. I didn't even know it was a thing until we come here. I hope you've enjoyed joining us. I hope you found it interesting. I mean, we were talking there, the size of that bat ray that I thought it was probably going to be like £50, but he said by the conversion rate it works out closer to £100. I'm absolutely over the moon. I hope you enjoyed joining us. I had a fantastic time. Thank you very much.
Oh, thanks, John. It's been
What
a
I will
pleasure.
do is I will tag the information into AmericanSeaFishing.com.
Correct, yeah.
I will tag the information into the description of this video in case anybody wants to check it out. Come fishing with them. I highly recommend it.
Thank you.
All the very best. See you later.